For 8 months, I learned how to become unremarkable. That's the first lesson you absorb when you work in a house like Giovanni Moretti's. Not how to clean marble without streaks, not how to fold Egyptian cotton towels into perfect thirds, not even how to walk softly across floors that cost more than your entire life. The first lesson is how to erase yourself without disappearing completely. You learn how to exist in a way that leaves no ripples. Present, useful, but never memorable. You become something between furniture and atmosphere. The house breathes around you, and you move with it, careful not to disturb anything that matters. My hands polish surfaces meant to impress people who already have everything. I dust shelves lined with first editions I'll never read. I arrange flowers flown in overnight from places I've never been, blossoms so pristine they almost look artificial. Everything in the mansion gleams with controlled restraint. Nothing here is loud. Nothing here is accidental. The house stretches across 3 floors of Manhattan luxury. Dark wood, pale stone, clean lines designed to communicate power without ever stating it outright. Tall windows overlook a city that looks endless and indifferent from this height. From up here, Manhattan is just lights and movement. From my bank account, it's survival math that never quite adds up. Giovanni Moretti is the gravitational center of the house. Though for most of my time here, I experience him indirectly. Like weather. You don't need to see the storm to feel the pressure shift. I know when he's home without being told. Conversations lower, doors close more gently. The air feels tighter somehow, like the house itself is paying attention. I recognize his footsteps on the stairs. Unhurried, deliberate, never uncertain. When I hear them, I instinctively adjust my route. A turn down a service hallway, a pause in a linen closet. Disappearing is second nature now. When I do see him, it's always in fragments. A reflection in polished stone, a shadow passing a doorway, dark hair always precise, suits that look custom-built rather than tailored. His eyes, whiskey dark and sharp, never quite land on me. I don't think he's ever really seen me at all. Men come to the house to meet with him. They arrive tense, shoulders tight, voices clipped. They leave quieter, sometimes shaken. I clean the study afterward. Ashtrays heavy with cigar smoke, half-empty glasses of expensive liquor. I never touch his papers. I never touch his laptop. I never ask questions. Asking questions is how people stop working here. The only part of my life that feels solid is my sister Brittany. She works in the kitchen, younger than me and braver in ways I never learned to be. She laughs easily, cooks like feeding people is a kind of love, and somehow manages to hold on to optimism even when the world keeps proving it doesn't deserve it. Where I calculate, she trusts. Where I worry, she moves forward. At the end of our shifts, we ride the subway back to our apartment in the Bronx together. 2 bedrooms, thin walls, pipes that rattle like they're trying to escape. Neighbors who argue at 3 in the morning, but it's ours. Rented, barely affordable. And it's the only place where I don't feel like I'm holding my breath. I take every extra shift offered, every double, every holiday, because $47,000 in medical debt doesn't care how tired I am. Because cancer didn't just kill my mother, it hollowed out our savings and left interest behind to finish the job. My mother died 2 years ago. Slowly, painfully, expensively. The bills didn't stop when her heart did. They kept arriving, neat and relentless like accusations. I signed payment plans I'll be paying into my 30s, accepted interest rates that should be illegal, learned how to survive on cheap coffee and quieter hope. So I clean, I fold, I disappear. Thursday night, the grandfather clock in the main hall strikes 10 as I finish wiping down the banister. My shoulders burn, my lower back throbs. I've spent hours crouched over tile grout in the 3rd floor bathroom, scrubbing something no one will ever consciously notice. Outside, October rain streaks down the tall windows, blurring the city into gold and shadow. You heading out? Brittany asks, pulling on her jacket. She smells like garlic and rosemary and something comforting. Yeah, long day. She studies me the way only a sister can. You look wrecked. I'm fine. You always say that. We walk toward the service exit together. Movie night this weekend? She asks. I'll make popcorn. If I'm not working. She sighs softly. Lauren, you can't keep doing doubles forever. But I can. I have to. I'm short $300 on the next payment. Outside, the rain has turned heavy. Brittany checks her phone. Another message from her boyfriend. Something urgent. She apologizes under her breath. Go, I tell her. I'll be fine. You sure? It's 3 blocks. She kisses my cheek and runs toward her car. I pull my hood up and start walking. The street is quieter than usual, storefronts dark, security lights casting everything in amber and shadow. My sneakers splash through puddles, soaking my socks. I count familiar landmarks to steady myself. Italian restaurant, dry cleaner, pharmacy, then the alley. 2 men step out ahead of me. I stop. My heart slams against my ribs. Evening, one of them says. White, shaved head, jacket too thin for the rain. His smile doesn't reach his eyes. I try to step around them. Hold on, he says, shifting into my path. The second man moves behind me. I don't want trouble, I say. No trouble, he replies. Just your bag. And your phone. My hands shake as I give them what they ask for. Good girl. Then his eyes drop to my uniform. The logo. Recognition flickers. You work at that house, he says. The big one. Cold floods my veins. No. He grabs my collar and yanks me forward. Don't lie. You work for Moretti. I beg. I explain. I tell them I'm nobody. That I don't know anything. That I just clean. He laughs. The punch comes out of nowhere. Light explodes behind my eyes. Then another. Hands pin my arms. A palm clamps over my mouth. Pain blooms in my ribs as blow after blow lands. This is what happens, he whispers, when people think they own streets. Darkness takes me. When I wake, rain soaks my clothes. My face throbs. My ribs feel shattered. My eye won't open. They're gone. I stumble home in fragments. Lights, voices, stares that feel endless. In the bathroom mirror, my reflection tells the truth I can't afford to say out loud. I go to work the next morning anyway. Makeup becomes armor. Long sleeves hide bruises. Every breath hurts. Giovanni sees me for the first time in 8 months when he steps into his study and asks calmly, "What happened to your face?" I lie. He doesn't believe me. He asks to see my arms. He sees the bruises, and the room changes. The silence after that felt heavier than anything that had come before it. Giovanni didn't raise his voice. He didn't step closer. He didn't react the way men in power are expected to when something displeases them. He simply stood there, looking at the bruises on my arm as if committing them to memory. His jaw tightened almost imperceptibly, the only visible sign that something inside him had shifted. "Who did this?" he asked. "I told you," I said, the lie already fraying. "I fell." "That," he replied calmly, "is not a fall." He crossed the room and pressed a button on the phone on his desk. "Franco, come to my office. Now." I tried to protest, tried to explain that it wasn't necessary, that I didn't want trouble, that I couldn't afford to lose my job. He didn't acknowledge a single word. His attention was already elsewhere, already moving forward. "Sit," he said, gesturing to one of the leather chairs. It wasn't a request. I sat. Franco arrived minutes later, took one look at my face, and went very still. Giovanni spoke quietly, efficiently, laying out the facts as if discussing inventory rather than violence. 3 blocks from here, 2 men. They recognized her uniform. Franco nodded once. "We'll pull the cameras." When the footage played, my stomach turned. Seeing it from the outside was worse. Grainy images of myself walking home, unaware, then suddenly cornered. Franco paused the frame on the men's faces. "That's Darren Cole," he said. "Albanians. Low-level enforcer." Giovanni watched without blinking. "Bring them to me," he said. That night, I couldn't sleep. Sometime after midnight, voices drifted up through the house. Doors opened, closed. I should have stayed in bed. I didn't. I stood at the top of the stairs and looked down into the study. The men knelt on the floor, hands bound. Blood darkened one man's lip. The other stared straight ahead, jaw clenched. Giovanni sat behind his desk, still as stone. "Who did this to you?" he asked quietly. The shaved-headed man broke first. "I did." Giovanni nodded once, as if confirming something he already knew. "Take them," he said to Franco. "Make sure the message is received." They were dragged away, pleading. I stepped back before I could hear more. I should have felt horror. Instead, I felt something dangerously close to relief. The next morning, Giovanni insisted I see a doctor. A private one. He paid before I could object, ordered me to rest, told me I wasn't cleaning anything until my ribs healed. "You work in my house," he said. "That makes you my responsibility." It was the first time anyone had said that about me without it sounding like an obligation. Days passed. Bruises bloomed, then faded. Pain dulled into something manageable. Giovanni began noticing small things, how I took my coffee, how I organized books by author instead of color, how I never complained even when I should have. One evening we talked, really talked, about my mother, about the debt, about the way survival becomes a full-time job. He didn't interrupt, didn't pity me, just listened. "How much?" he asked finally. $47,000, I said. He paid it off without asking permission. I cried in the bathroom afterward, sitting on the floor, overwhelmed by the sudden absence of something that had been crushing me for years. "You didn't have to do that," I said later. "I wanted to," he replied simply. The kiss happened quietly, in the library, late one night when the house was empty, slow, careful. Like neither of us trusted it yet. After that, nothing was simple. Franco warned me. Brittany worried. Giovanni tried to protect without controlling. We argued about safety, about independence, about what it meant to choose someone dangerous without becoming owned by their world. We compromised. I stayed myself. Weeks passed. My ribs healed. The city felt different, safer, or maybe I just wasn't invisible anymore. Giovanni introduced me to his world carefully, on his terms. Showed me how power worked when it was restrained, when it chose not to expand endlessly. When an opportunity to seize new territory arose, he turned it down. I have enough, he said. I don't need everything. That night, standing on the terrace as dawn broke over Manhattan, he told me he loved me. I said it back without fear. I still clean sometimes, not because I have to, but because I remember who I was, who I survived as. I started this story invisible. I ended it chosen, not owned, not rescued, seen, protected, and finally, living.